Howdy, everybody. This is the 15th of March, 2020, and I would like to invite you to come watch opera with me tomorrow night, Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm hoping to do it multiple nights, so I'm going to show you here. This is from the Metropolitan Opera in New York City, and they had to close down, as did most Broadway shows and any large gatherings in Manhattan. Because of this, Met Opera is opening up its recordings of HD, live in HD presentations of operas. And they have put out 1 week's worth of operas. The first one is going to be Carmen. So I am setting up a watch party on Facebook. It's a public event, so anyone can join. You know, maybe we'll have a comment thread, have people discuss things. That's fine. But the reason I want to invite you, this is free, but I have been a long-time opera fan. I started being into opera when I was in college, when I got to watch it for free as a student. And then I went to graduate school in New York City. And then I got free or very cheap opera tickets to the Met and New York City Opera. So I'm not going to talk about those operas that I saw now, unless they're going to put it in the mix. They're not in the first week. Of the first week, actually, the only one that I've seen, the specific recording, is La Fille du Régiment. I have seen most of these operas, just not these specific recordings. Okay, so they start with Carmen, which is one of the most produced operas across the world in recent years. It's very, very popular, and it's very accessible. You will recognize a lot of the music from it. It's relatively short, and the plot, so I'm going to tell you the plot. Here is the official synopsis. There are 4 acts. I am not going to read these out. I'll give you the link and you can read it because I'm going to give you an even shorter explanation of this opera. There are 2 main characters. It's Carmen, obviously, and Don Jose. By the way, the opera's in French, but it's set in Spain. And this happens a lot in opera. My favorite one is Girl of Golden West by, I think, Puccini, and maybe it's Rossini, where it's set in the American West, and it's a cowboy opera, and it's in Italian. I love that opera, but we'll see if they show that one. In any case, so Carmen is a gypsy. She's sexy, and she uses her wiles against all the men. She has her interest piqued by Don Jose because he ignores her, basically. He has a sweetheart, Michaela, who is, peasant girl. She's naive, she's innocent, yada, yada. So that's one of the side characters, Michaela. There's Zuniga. By the way, Don Jose and Zuniga, these are all Spanish soldiers. And they're kind of under martial law, I guess, is the situation, because Carmen gets arrested and then she tries to seduce her way out of it and all of that. So the point is, Carmen is sexy. She falls in love with Don Jose. She falls out of love with Don Jose and falls in love with a bullfighter because he's the man of the hour. And then Don Jose is very jealous and kills her. That's it. That's the opera. No, I did not spoil it for you. You are supposed to know the story before you come into an opera. And when I mean you're supposed to know the story, it's expected. You don't have to, but it helps, especially if you don't know the language. There are opera purists who think you shouldn't put subtitles on, and they do have subtitles. I'm going to show you what it looks like at the Met Opera. I'm a member, I should say a subscriber to Met Opera on demand, and have been for many years, because I love opera, but I can't really get to the opera house because reasons. Anyway, I will show you that in a moment. That said, don't worry about the opera purists. These operas are here to be enjoyed. Enjoy it the way you can. What's great is you don't have to, you can wear jammies with this. You're watching this at home. Just don't get on a webcam and not have clothes on. Okay. But what is funny to me about opera and the attitude people have towards opera is like, okay, so here I've got my little fancy Hummel teacup and I got my pinky way out. You know what's in here? It's just beer, okay? Just because I have it in a fancy cup doesn't mean anything. Anyway, a A lot of opera is very accessible because it really isn't intellectual. Some of it, it does help to know the history and yada yada. That said, the whole point of the opera is really to hit you in the gut, get you by the feelings. It's music, it's drama. And the ones that they're picking, the motivations, you have to strip it down to very simple. This is simpler than an action movie, most of them. Yes, there are obscure operas, there are very intellectual operas, but none of the ones that are listed are that way. We have tales of revenge and love and death and murder and all of that good stuff. You'll also see most of the operas that they're giving are tragic. Someone dies, a major character dies. I'll talk about that more tomorrow with La Boheme. Anyway, so Carmen gets killed at the very end of this opera. She's murdered. That did not go over very well, actually, with the original audiences of this opera. It was like in 1875-ish, something like that. It was after the Franco-Prussian War. Georges Bizet, that's French, has done several operas. There's The Pearl Fishers, which is really great, too. But Carmen is much better known. It did not become very popular until many years later, and to a certain extent, the Metropolitan Opera in New York, in the U.S., helped boost the popularity of this opera. But what really boosted the popularity is there's a lot of catchy tunes, a lot of recognizable tunes, and you will recognize the Toreador song, the habanera. You might recognize other bits of music, So it's got a beat. You can dance to it. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so last, I just want to show what it looks like for if you're a subscriber. I believe what they're going to do at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, they're going to stream what these recordings are, which play in movie theaters. So this played in a movie theater back in live. And I'm just trying to see back in 2010. Okay, so this is 10 years old. Most of the HD recordings are 10 years old or less. In any case, you're not going to see these things to the side. So these are things that I can click on. And I don't know, they said they're going to have the opera available until the next one that's at the next 7:30. I don't know if they're just going to have, you just push play and it goes, or if you can control it. Because if you can control it, and you're not with my watch party, what you can do is you can pick out the ones that say featured. That's the good bits. Now, the whole opera itself is less than 3 hours long. This is relatively short for an opera. The one L'amour est un oiseau rebelle, which is the habanera, which is a dance. So you'll see some of them are going to be, when you see these words, it's usually the first line of the aria, the duet, whatever it is. Aria just means air to say song, the songs. So they're called numbers, and there are standard ways of breaking it up. By the time it got to Carmen, opera was a little more fluid and didn't have the kind of classical era like Mozart type of numbers. That said, there's still, so here's our Toreador song. That's one you'd want to look at. And of course, you always want to look at the very end when people die. That's always a good time in an opera. So please join me, and I will be watching. I am not an opera geek. I'm an opera fan. I'm not an expert. I just enjoy watching opera. It's one of the things, it's just like books for me. It's one of my major forms of entertainment. So a lot of times I'm looking stuff up myself. It's fine. You don't have to be a fancy person to enjoy opera. Enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. I like putting on the subtitles. Some people get snotty and say, oh, you should have a libretto with you with the side-by-side, the actual French next to the English. You know what? That's too much work. So let's enjoy Carmen. I'll have another video for La Boheme, which is going to be the opera on Tuesday. And we'll see how far it goes. I'm not really committing to do it every night. Some of the operas I like more than others. La Fille du Regiment is the only comic opera of the first week list, so I will definitely have something to say about that because I do like that one, and why it's very difficult for comic operas kind of to be in the repertoire compared to stuff like Carmen and La Boheme, where, tragedy and death. Okay, so I hope to see you on Facebook. Bye bye.